MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 48 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover episode 48 of City Hunter, titled, "Oh Spring Come Soon to Love's Widow, Take Off Those Clothes of Mourning."
Or really, just take off those clothes.
Yeah, take them off. Woo!
It's a little weird to go from mourning clothes to, woo, take it off.
I mean, that's Ryo's whole thing this episode.
The whole MO.
That's literally the reason he gets hired this week.
Because he's capable of doing that with literally any woman.
Yes. But before we get into the rest of the episode, I'd like to thank anybody who said any kind words about us. Since this week on Twitter, we did go ahead and post out there for International Podcast Day. We do this podcast.
We exist.
And some of you seem to like us, so we appreciate that.
There's a couple people that actually seem to listen. That's the shocking part.
I know, right?
I know. It's crazy. But thank you. Thank you for doing that thing that seems so strange to say, that other people would actually listen to this, but I guess other people actually know what City Hunter is. So that's cool.
Yes, we appreciate that you appreciate what we appreciate.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you're anything like us, you are also waiting for more announcements about this movie that's supposed to happen that we still don't know whether or not they're really going to follow through with.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. We're still upset that we didn't hear anything.
I know.
Aniplex, get on it. I'm watching you.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. So we'll get right into the top of the episode. So, like you would figure, any given day of the week out in Shinjuku, we start our episode with Ryo on the hunt for chicks.
I half wondered, is he doing this for a reason? Like, is this cover for something, or... No, he really is just like, what women out here are hot today?
Cause Ryo gotta have it. Like, that's him right now. He's just hitting on anything that moves.
Which, again, must stress, this is not a guy to idolize.
No.
If this was a real human being, I would hate him.
Yes, and we wouldn't want to deal with that behavior of his, but as a source of entertainment, and knowing this is fiction, it's amusing.
Also, they do not put up with it. These women are just like, they'll scream, they'll hit him.
They'll rake him in the face?
That one lady just grabbed him by the face and didn't seem to do anything else. She just kind of held on for
she
dear life.
raked his face.
She didn't pull her nails across his face. She just kind of dug her fingers in real hard and just held on.
I mean, you ever had that happen to you? That hurts.
No, I've never had my face grabbed in that manner.
Well, that's right. The only one of the two of us has ever backyard wrestled.
I'm glad that is your point of reference.
That and having a lot of younger cousins, but that being besides the point. So Ryo is doing all this perverted activity there out on the street there in Shinjuku, and he's being watched and admired from afar.
By some old dude in some really nice clothes and a nice hat, looking at him through binoculars. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and he's there looking at him like, look at him. He just never gives up. He doesn't take no for an answer. He just keeps going after it. He's the one I want.
Perfect. Hired him specifically because he's a pervert, which I think is not the first time that has happened, that someone has hired him just because he's a pervert.
So we go to the apartment, and this guy who we find out his name is Kudo, and Kudo here is asking for the help of City Hunter on behalf of his, I guess you would say the term mistress, but not like mistress, like the owner of the mansion that he is employed at, because he is a butler.
He works for her.
He's
a butler. The lady of the house needs some help.
Yes. So the lady of the house, Masumi, who we don't, again, this is another episode where we don't find out her name for like 10 whole minutes.
Yeah.
Masumi is in a bad way because unfortunately she has been in a perpetual state of mourning for about 2 years now.
She was married to some French guy. That French guy died 2 years ago, and she's just been super sad ever since. And, I went to grief counseling once, and they tell you if you're stuck in grief past 2 years, then that's a cause for concern.
Right, because generally speaking, like, everybody handles grief differently, and we understand that. But at about that point, that's when you might want to start thinking about getting some help to help you get through that, whatever you're going through.
Right. Like, your life is never going to be the same. You just have to figure out what your new quote-unquote normal actually is.
Now, Kudo means well. He really does. But the thing about it is, his idea of helping out Masumi is that she just needs some action, somebody else pursuing her. And in keeping with that, he asked around and tried to see, okay, who's somebody who will pursue the woman I work for nonstop? And he went to Sayako of all people, and Sayako highly recommended Ryo for this job because he will never quit.
Oh yeah, this this guy's insufferable. Yeah, like, we don't actually see Sayako have this conversation, but that's how I imagine it went, is just, man, you're never gonna believe this guy. If you are looking for the most insufferable piece of trash you have ever seen.
The biggest horn dog ever to exist.
You have got to go to this guy. Like, no, just wait. He's gonna be out on the street tomorrow, I promise you, just on the prowl for chicks, man. Go ahead, just watch him work.
Oh my god, he's the real deal. Like, that's how that
she
went.
was not kidding. Holy crap.
He's amazing. But thankfully, and to Ryo's credit, I really appreciate the scene right here. He tells him, no, you came recommended by Sayako? I appreciate it, but I have so many IOUs from her. Look at this list here, and it literally like drops out like a CVS receipt of all these IOUs that Sayako owes him. He's like, no, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not doing it.
Which, you know, fair. We're finally getting to the point where, you know, it is funny to watch Ryo get his when he's such a sex pest, but at the same time, if Sayako's been leading him on a whole bunch and getting him to do things for free, and then just also kind of
dicking him around.
Well, sneaking in at the last minute and like taking his wins from him. You know what I mean? Like, Ryo does all the hard work, and then Sayako comes in like, woo, alright, I'm gonna arrest this guy.
My save.
My save. Then yeah, I get it. Ryo should be like, no, I give up. And really, it would be one less woman that he cares about harassing. So, like, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe he should be sticking to this.
You would think. You honestly would think, but unfortunately, Coyote has to bring up, no, Ryo, we haven't had any jobs in a while. So again, we're seeing another case of City Hunter having been through a dry spell.
Again, that's the life of a freelancer.
So I'm guessing last week's whole thing with the pool hall hustler and the pool-in didn't pay out that well.
Well, yeah, they got rid of that pool table. So, and now
they're back to using the picnic table.
The picnic bench is back for their dining purposes.
So then we're under the impression now that Ryo, or rather Coyote, didn't actually get rid of it. She just kind of probably put it in the basement or the garage.
Didn't get rid of the picnic table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe just moved it to one of the other apartments in the building that is not regularly getting used.
Could be. I would believe that. They've got that whole building to themselves. And so Ryo has to tell Kudo, no, I'm sorry, hard pass. And Kudo's like, oh, it's such a shame. The mistress, she's all alone in that mansion, being so single and all.
The animation's really good here because you see this old man from Ryo's perspective from across the room, and he gets up and he starts slowly walking his way, and the camera moves with every footstep he takes. I don't know. You have to really see it to understand what I'm describing. It's really kind of interesting.
Yeah, like at first it's from Ryo's perspective of him taking one step forward at a time, and then it flips around to see Ryo from Kudo's perspective moving one step at a time towards him, and then Coyote getting further and further out of focus in the background. And he's there stepping up to him like, wait, what does she look like? What does she smell like? What's her style? Is she hot?
How old is she?
Oh, she's a smoking hot 22-year-old widow, and she looks great and has a great sense of fashion.
Sweet, I am there.
So then we're immediately at the mansion, and this thing is huge. It's up on a hill. It's not a villa this time. This is like an old Eastern European mansion.
Yeah.
One of those kind. And for whatever reason, Ryo thought it was a good idea to show up like he's going to prom.
Well, very specifically like 80s prom.
Because look at him. He's wearing this all-white tuxedo with this like light pink undershirt.
It's that kind of look like in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. That kind of ruffled tuxedo.
They show up in the loudest thing they possibly could.
Like he would blend right in with Harry and Lloyd.
Exactly, yes.
And what's also interesting here is that Kudo apparently, you know, they've got money. Masumi has this whole fortune, this whole mansion to herself, and apparently the late husband was a very big collector of objets d'art. That's how they say it.
Objets d'art.
Yes. Yeah. And so they don't take the mini up. They had a car take them up.
Yeah, they were shuttled?
Chauffeured.
Yeah, chauffeured. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. They were chauffeured there.
And so Ryo's already, like, he's at a 10 already. Like, he hasn't even met this lady. He's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to risk it all. Let's go. So he's really raring to go, jumps off the top of the roof of the car, lands on the edge of this fence, which again is like 8 or 10 feet high.
So he very nearly clears this fence, and I really think he just about could have. He just wanted to land on this fence because...
He's being dramatic.
Because he just wanted the style of it and to look at me balancing on this fence.
And unfortunately finds out right then that it's electrified.
He should have just cleared it.
Because he could have.
He could have done it. For as high as he got, he could have cleared the whole fence.
And it would be bad enough that the fence is electrified, but now he's got 5 Dobermans to deal with on the ground.
Yeah, very specifically Doberman, because, you know, those are the dogs that you always think, oh, well, they're the security dogs, right? Always go for a Doberman.
Well, Doberman's not Rottweilers, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Rottweilers are more beefy and their ears are flopped down. They have very similar coloration, but no, they're not the same breed.
Yeah, so the Dobermans would be the pointy ears.
Pointy ears,
Gotcha. Okay. And so now we see Masumi walking up, and she's dressed there. You know, she looks very nice, but it's also all in black.
Yeah, she's been mourning for 2 years, and like, you can't blame somebody for being sad about the loss of somebody important for going on 2 years, but wearing your mourning clothes for that long is kind of a bad sign.
Like, it's a really Victorian sort of thing, it would seem.
I've seen this done in anime too, though. Like other anime where they're not wearing Victorian clothes. They're wearing traditional mourning yukata, and they're wearing it closed in the opposite direction to signify death or whatever. They're wearing a black kimono or yukata or whatever. I guess kimono. And I've seen this done in anime that is more Japanese, showing people stuck in their grief wearing these kind of clothes. So this has come up before.
And so Ryo tries to give her the flowers. Oh, look, he tried to give that nice lady some flowers.
She is a nice lady, but she's still in mourning, and she's trying to protect herself too on top of that.
But also she believes that she doesn't need any sort of help. She doesn't need a bodyguard, even though we're informed that there have been a string of attempted thefts there at the mansion as of late.
Bunch of break-ins, or at least they're trying to.
And Masumi assures Kaori and Ryo, look, we don't need you guys here. We're fine. We have the most advanced security system. You've seen the dogs. You've seen the fence. We're good here. We don't need any guards.
But yes, you do, because I was able to get right up close to you and you didn't even notice.
I could even smell you. Is that Chanel?
He specifically name drops Chanel, which is funny.
Mind you, Ryo right now is wearing Obsession by Calvin Klein. He's not really, but you figure.
When did Obsession get made?
Not until the 90s, I think.
I feel like it's a 90s thing. Obsession.
You're really gonna look that up?
By Calvin Klein. Hold on. You know what? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
We're not gonna bother with that. So because Ryo is being a weirdo and sniffing her, Kaori, of course, gets him with the 10-ton hammer. And it's just at that moment that, as we were talking about those break-ins, somebody's trying to break in right now.
Right now?
Right now.
Wow.
So we go ahead and go into the room that seems to have the most art in it, and we see this guy in a lucha mask with a big red nose. The nose isn't part of the mask, he just has the big red nose sticking out from underneath it.
In fact, actually, is this not a guy that we saw outside the house when Ryo was trying to break in the first place? He noticed a guy and commented, "Oh, big red nose."
Did he?
Yes.
So this guy, you would figure if you have a very noticeable facial feature, something very identifiable in a police lineup, you'd want to cover it up.
Right. Unfortunately, we'll learn a little later, he's actually really proud of that, like that's his best feature.
So this guy's breaking in, he's trying to steal a statue, just some Grecian-looking statue, and Ryo fires a warning shot at him, makes him drop the statue, and as it drops, it unfortunately breaks, but you see, just for a split second, something sparkly there.
Yeah.
And that's not lost on Ryo.
But anyway, guy leaves, and Ryo is very proud of himself. Is really trying to announce, "Hey, baby, look, I protected you, and I protected your stuff," but he didn't really protect the stuff, and she's very mad at him, and she hits him.
Slaps him in the face.
I mean, I think it should be obvious, like, hey, this stuff belonged to her late husband. Don't you think this would be important memories to this woman who's still mourning? Like, yeah, of course she slapped you, man.
You would think if you're there to protect not just the people, but also the artifacts, the art that you have there, don't fire a warning shot that'll make somebody drop it. Mm-hmm. Like, because that's going to get taken off the bill later.
Yeah.
And so Kudo reiterates to Ryo, you need to be careful with these things. Yes, these were all the husband. He collected all of these pieces of art, so they have a lot of sentimental value. To which Ryo starts remarking that, you know, this whole mansion reeks of him. I don't see a lot of her in this place. This is going to be a tough nut to crack here. How am I going to achieve mokkori?
Which is just such a weird thing to be constantly talking about trying to have the sexy times with a woman who's clearly still very, very sad. Like, there's something real wrong with that. If I'm going to be honest, there's something really wrong with this.
And to continue that, he starts creeping up the stairs, like actually saying it loud, sneak, 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 sneak. And Coyote is waiting for him around the corner. And this is amazing right here. We hadn't noticed this before, because usually we only see one side of the hammer whenever she uses it.
Sure.
So we do see one side of the hammer, and it's the 100-ton hammer. She's ready and waiting just as soon as Rio comes around that corner. I got him cold.
And so he does come around the corner, and she's about to swing, but Butler dude just grabs her and pulls her to the side like, hold on. Let him go. Let him go. But it's at this moment where he has pulled her to the side that we see the opposite side of the hammer, and we see these two kanji on it. And I'm like, hold on.
Wait, what is that?
Discotech did not translate and subtitle this on-screen text of what is written on this hammer. Hold on.
Enhance.
So yeah, we looked up what this kanji is, and the first kanji is actually Kaori's name, and then the second one is like
for use.
For use. Like, so putting it together, it's like for use by Kaori.
For Kaori's use only.
For Kaori's use, like, she has personalized her enormous 100-ton hammer.
She has personalized monogrammed mallets. That's amazing.
That's ridiculous. And we would have never thought about it. It's like, I guess a Japanese person would have been like, oh, that's a really funny thing. And then we don't think about it. It's just, oh, there's some kanji on that hammer. Okay, whatever.
It's whatever. No,
it's
it means
a funny
something.
joke. It's funny. It's weird that she would, like, she just puts her name on all these things that she uses to hit Ryo with later.
Like, she put thought into it. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, Psycho might try to use this hammer. No. Which is funny, because that'll be a thing later. So, Ryo invites himself, having not been stopped by Kaori just yet, he invites himself into Masumi's bedroom as she's getting ready for bed, and starts trying to throw spit game at her. Like, oh, I knew when I first saw you, I was destined to want to be your bodyguard for life. And then he does the Lupin jump, except this time he stays fully clothed.
Uh-huh.
And we see that on the wall there, Masumi has 3 cords on the side there, red, green, and blue.
Like theater-style cords to pull the curtain.
Yeah. Or like the old style, like 1800s, 1700s mansion cords that you'd pull on to like ring for a servant or something.
Yes.
So she pulls on them blue, green, and red, and each time she pulls on them, some new implement just flies out at Ryo.
These are traps that seem like they were designed by Umibozu. Mind you, we don't see Umibozu this entire episode, but this lady is prepped with these extremely elaborate traps. Like the first one is an entire ass wrecking ball.
A giant wrecking ball.
Dropped from the ceiling directly onto her own bed, and she sleeps under this wrecking ball. Just, okay, I hope this door never opens up and it just drops right onto my face.
But she dropped it directly onto Ryo, and he somehow pulls himself out from under it.
He lives because he's a cartoon.
Alright, so we pull the second rope, and now 6 spears, like Indiana Jones style, just come flying at him.
And he dodges those. She's got one more cord left.
And thank God it's the trapdoor and it works. But what's great is that as the trapdoor gets pulled, Ryo's just there flailing in midair, Wile E. Coyote style.
Right.
But then he says in English, "Oh my God!"
Oh my God! Yeah, very much like Joseph Joestar. But, this sort of predates that anime. So, Ryo did it first.
And then this is when the butler and Coyote come into the room to see, oh, okay, Ryo's stopped. He's been stopped. And Kudo is just like, damn, it didn't work. Coyote's like, what?
Yeah, because Kaori might have thought for about 2 seconds, like, oh, well, he let Ryo go in there because he knew that she was going to have all these traps and she was going to be fine. She was going to take care of herself. But no, actually, the butler was really hoping that Ryo would be successful in sexually assaulting her.
He was really disappointed.
Really wanted that to happen.
And so Coyote's like, all right, sidebar, we got to have a talk. Why are you trying to help Ryo?
And they have this talk while she's petting a very nice Doberman.
She has befriended a doggy.
Very sweet looking Doberman. Like, it looks real rough, but clearly, like, it's taken to Kaori just fine. It was a kind of a nice dog.
And so as Coyote is there petting the new dog, Kudo gives his rationale for why he wants Ryo there, which we kind of understand. In that, he explains to Coyote, look, she's only 22 years old. She's too young to be mourning and dedicating her whole life to to grief. She's got to go out there and live. She's got to go see the sights, be her own person. And she's not going to do that while she's constantly thinking of her deceased husband. So I was hoping somebody else would like kickstart that, and that's how we ended up with Ryo.
And Kaori, obviously, is like, don't you understand what a dangerous thing you just did? Do you know what a dangerous person Ryo is for women?
You don't understand. He's a machine. He will not stop. He is the sexual Terminator.
What's so strange is that while she's yelling at this butler guy, she gets up out of her chair and she's yelling at him. And like the dog was also in a seated position next to her while he was getting pet. And then the dog also stands up and is also like really offended.
But also, not only that, as Kaori's lip flaps are going, the dog has matching lip flaps.
Well, because I think that Kaori and the dog were probably on the same animation cell. So, like, they just sort of cut the budget there and just had them both kind of opening and closing their mouths at the same time as they looped back and forth between these two cells. And so I think the dog's just trying to pant, but
it kind of looks like the dog is talking.
It a little bit looks like the dog is talking, but after Kaori has done all of this shouting, the dog, like, chimes in and barks. Like, woof, like, yeah, did you hear what she said? And he's got, like, a sweat drop going on. I'm like, when did this dog learn that Ryo is a problem and now he's also got this beef with the butler? Like, man, this butler's an idiot. This dog...
You brought him into our house?
And I just need to stress that this is a really realistic looking animated dog. This is not like, they didn't give the dog facial expressions. Like, it just looks like an actual Doberman. It's not a really cartoony Doberman. But the dog has decided, no, I have an opinion on this as well, and I agree with Kaori for some reason.
Because the dog had been talking to Kaori or something, and Kaori's like, look, dog, you'll listen to me. Let me tell you about this dog I have to live with, this dog of a man. And the Doberman's like, oh my god.
The dog had this understanding with her or something. I don't know.
And so to further prove her point, Kaori's like, look, let's go check on Ryo right now and see what he's doing. I'll show you what we're talking about. And they find him in the kitchen, and he has helped himself to Masumi's giant kitchen and put together a small feast. He's just like chowing down on turkey legs and ham and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, I need to store up energy. Mokkori energy. I need it. I'm on the hunt.
Got these chicken bones hanging out of his mouth.
They're turkey bones.
Or whatever bones.
And so Kaori's there trying to be like, look, you see what he's unleashed? How far are you willing to go for this? Was that even a real thief last night? No, it was a real thief.
No. Like, I do need for this woman to be shaken out of her mourning, but the thief is real. Like, I didn't want him to be part of this. But it's at that moment that Masumi comes walking into the kitchen door. Ryo, oh no, I've been caught eating all of this food. No, that's not why I'm here. No, come with me. I'm gonna take you someplace. And Ryo thinks, sweet, it's finally happening. We're on a date. No, we are not.
Yeah, we're in the car.
It's her car. It's some Western car. She's driving it.
Yeah, it's an expensive looking car. And Ryo's like, all right, so where are we going on our date? Masumi says, you see up there on that hill, that church? Ryo's like, great, church, I'm fine with it. Let's get married. You know, sooner the better. Let's get it over with.
And I'm just kind of shocked it takes him this long to realize we're taking flowers to my husband's grave. Also, Ryo, while we're at this church, the only way I'm gonna forgive you is if you go into that church and you confess all your sins right now. AKA, Ryo, you need Jesus.
Like, I'm surprised it's taken 48 episodes for some woman to tell him, Ryo, you need to have a conversation with God about your life and your choices.
Western Jesus. Western God. Like, somebody finally told him, I realize this is Japan, but no, you need Western Jesus.
So she leaves Ryo there at the church like, all right, you go figure yourself out with God or some higher deity. I'm gonna go leave these flowers over at my husband's tombstone. And while she's there at the tombstone, we see how old the husband was when he passed. Looks like he was only 25. We see the dates on his tombstone, 62 to 87.
Right.
But that doesn't add up.
Why?
Because it's 87 now.
Oh, I did not think about that.
The story says he's been dead for 2 years.
Well, okay, by this point in time during the airing, it might be 88. In fact, I'm gonna look this up. This is, hold on, I'm gonna find out right now. City Hunter episode, what is it, 48?
48.
Yeah, by this point, it's 1988.
Okay, so even then, if production was done in 87, that still doesn't add up.
No, you're right, it doesn't add up.
Because he should have died then in 85, or 86 at the latest.
He might have died in 86. Yeah, time is kind of wrong here.
Yeah, so now I'm starting to wonder about foul play. I don't actually mean that. It's just a screw up on the staff's part for not making sure the dates added up.
Yeah, they meant 2 years, and they only gave him 1 year dead. That's
at best.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about the earliest he could have died in 87 would have been January 1st, he would have only been dead for a year and a month.
And that is not 2 years.
That is not 2 years.
Like, nobody rounds up by 9 months.
No.
Unless you're like a 15-year-old trying to lie that you're 16. That is the only time that happens. Otherwise, no, those dates don't make sense.
No.
But that's the least of her problems right now. There's somebody here to talk to you.
It's the red-nosed guy.
And he's like, don't look at my face.
Which, this doesn't make any sense that he's like, no, let's not look at each other. I'm going to look away from you, and you're going to look away from me. Dude, you're the only two people in this graveyard right now. I don't understand if you're trying to look like you're just near each other, but not talking to each other. It's really weird that you're near all of the gravestones, and you're not looking at any of them. You already look weird.
Like, this is already very sus.
Right.
And so he lays out this whole story for Masumi, like, hey, you know, your husband wasn't all straight edge. He was helping me with heists, and he hid diamonds and a lot of his art stuff, and we were gonna split the money, but then he died and we couldn't do it, so I've come back for my share.
And she's like, no, I can't believe he would do that. Well, he did. So I'm gonna come back tonight.
At midnight.
And you're gonna turn off all the security systems, and you're gonna get rid of your new bodyguard that you got. All right, bye. See you later.
And don't tell anybody, or otherwise I tell everybody about your husband. Bye. And she's like, oh, no. And so as, you know, dude leaves and apparently, you know, walked past Ryo, he had to have.
No, in fact, we see him walk directly past
Oh, no, you're right.
him.
Yeah, he does walk past. So it's not like Ryo wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, because he has seen him twice now.
Yeah, no, this is dumb. You walked right past the bodyguard? Man, you stupid. And so Ryo starts playing more, you know, psychiatrist here, like, hey, Masumi, I just wanted you to know that the real grave isn't here, it's the mansion.
It's where you have died. In your heart. Or something. You know, something really meaningful. That kind of bullshit.
And so that night at the mansion, just a couple minutes before midnight, they continue this talk, and Ryo decides to have, like, a real actual talk with her about grief. And he uses the very real example to him of Makimura and Kaori.
Right.
And he's telling her, look, you know my partner, right? She had a brother, and he died.
Kaori is very sad about it. She thinks about it all the time, but you know what? She doesn't ever actually talk about it, and she's just kind of happy and smiling, normal Kaori every single day. She's actually a really strong woman, which I'm sitting here thinking, wow, this is a really big compliment he's giving her, actually.
It's high praise.
It's high praise. But the reason why he's saying it, aside from the high praise for Kaori that he's just allowing to happen while nobody else important is listening, is, yeah, she's strong, you a weak bitch.
It's unfortunate, but that's actually what he's saying. Like, he calls her a weakling, Mrs. Weakling. Like, hey, you Miss Weakling, you want to go check on the thief, you weakling?
Like, are you trying to, like, goad her into a darker place, man?
Like, this isn't the way to go.
He really thought, man, I've really got something here, though. I think he's trying to get her to, like, man up, pull on her big boy pants, and like, ha, I just called you weak, prove me wrong.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's like, do you love your husband? Did you believe in who your husband was? Then trust that he's the person you thought he was.
If you loved your husband, you would do blah, blah, blah. Like, that's also, I have feelings about that approach.
And they're not good.
Yeah.
So it's midnight, and Red-Nosed Dude has come back, and, you know, he's trying to steal something, and they just flick the lights on like, hey, what's up?
I thought I told you to turn off the security. Leave that bodyguard behind. No, I'm here.
Also, what are you looking for?
Is it diamonds? Hey, Kaori, why don't you show him what we found?
And Kaori's like, I got him right here. Yeah.
Yeah, we knew you were looking for diamonds, man, because when you dropped that first statue, there was a diamond in it. So we already knew, bro. We already knew. So we found all the diamonds before you ever got here.
We found him last night after you left.
Also, by the way, the husband wasn't actually part of any of this. He just just happened to buy a whole bunch of art where you were stuffing diamonds in and you're trying to get them back. And like, he didn't know. He didn't know there were diamonds being smuggled in the art he was buying. He was just buying art. The wife is just, oh, thank Christ. But we still have a problem. The guy is still in there.
And you would think Ryo has him cold, and it's right at this moment that Kudo decides to check on what's going on in this room.
Like, he's been woken up and he's in his nightgown and nightcap.
Yeah.
Just opens the next door and he's like, hey guys, what's going on in here? Oh shit!
And now Red-Nosed Guy has a hostage.
It's just funny that the door literally opens up directly next to the Red-Nosed Guy with the gun.
Like, perfectly placing him in hostage-taking
trajectory, yeah.
Yeah. And so we see that Red-Nosed Guy has this giant Uzi, and now he's got it trained on Kudo. Like, all right, drop your weapon, otherwise the butler gets it.
He's like, oh yeah, I'll shoot the butler. You think I won't do it? I'm friggin' crazy, man. I'll do it. He starts shooting the art. And
he starts blasting.
And then he starts shooting around Ryo, which there's two other women standing in Ryo's vicinity, and they're like ducking down and behind Ryo. Ryo's a stone cold pimp. He doesn't flinch.
I know. Like, Masumi ducks behind the door frame. Kaori just shrinks as best she can and hides directly behind Ryo. She's using him as a meat shield.
Like, oh, if anybody's gonna get hit, it's him, not me. And he does get hit, actually. Just this graze across the cheekbone.
The badass scar.
Ryo was just really counting on this guy being the worst shot, because if he was in any way decent, then Ryo would have been hit, but he was not hit.
Well, you can tell a lot by the weapon that he's using, because Uzis are not meant for accuracy.
No, it's scatter shot.
Exactly. Well, not scatter shot like a shotgun, but it's burst fire.
Sure.
So it's really meant more as a distraction, or if you were dealing with a big group of people or something coming at you, then you'd want to use an Uzi. Mm-hmm. But for people right there in front of you, you need something a little more precise. So yeah, he took that bet that Uzi wasn't gonna hit him, and he won, just about.
I mean, his clothes are a little tattered, because it did hit his clothes a little bit, and also the scratch on his face.
But now he looks like a badass.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. The guy's like, so Ryo, we know you've got a gun. Are you gonna drop your gun? And Ryo's like, fine, I'll drop the gun. Like, Ryo could have won right there, but he just decides, I'm gonna do something else really cool and badass that you don't expect, and I'm gonna drop this gun. And he's like, I don't even need a gun to defeat you. In fact, it's not even him that defeats him, because, surprise, it's Psycho!
Coming in through a different door. And
this room has so many entrances.
This is a big mansion. This is probably like a $6 million mansion.
Yeah, but like, this room's only so big. Why are so many doors? Why are there so many entrances to this room?
Look, I don't know architecture.
Okay.
But yeah, Psycho comes in, throws a knife into his hand, into Red-Nosed Guy's hand.
Because, by the way, I'm here too.
Yeah, I'm here to take credit. She even says that. I'm here to take credit. And she reaffirms, oh yeah, Red-Nosed Guy here, he's known to never have had any partners, so widow, don't worry. All that stuff he was saying about your husband's complete bull.
Also, he called himself Red-Nosed Reindeer, and he's like, oh my god, how'd you know my name?
Because you have a big ass red nose. Like, what are you talking about?
Also, why are you out here calling yourself Red-Nosed Reindeer? Why are you giving yourself an identifying name? We can identify exactly who you are. Are you stupid? He's stupid. The answer is he's stupid.
And so dude, feeling like he doesn't have anything left to lose, decides to pull a grenade. Like, alright, if I can't have the art, nobody can have it. We're all going to hell. And so this next sequence right here is one of the seminal sequences that you see whenever City Hunter's referenced. There's a whole clip of just this scene that we're talking about right here over on Retro Crush's YouTube channel of Ryo ducking down and counting down from 5, reaching under, flipping up Psycho's skirt to reveal her bandolier of knives, but also her gun that she's got strapped to her thigh.
Because cops have those.
Yeah, and counts down, pulls her gun, shoots the grenade out of dude's hand, and then trick shots it multiple times out of the window.
And then boom, it explodes out the window. So this is an incredibly famous scene from this entire series. Like one of the most famous scenes that City Hunter is quite possibly known for. This is referenced in the live action French adaptation. It's not using Sayako as a character. It's using Kaori Laura, the French name, Laura. But it's the same, like she's wearing a nice dress and then Ryo comes in and then flips the dress up and then starts shooting from from between her legs.
Yeah.
You know, we have to reference it because it's such a visually iconic part of this series. Like, it's just such a badass trick shot moment.
Yeah, and it's something that shows Ryo's confidence of knowing, oh, I know exactly how to handle this situation. It's done. The threat is over. You're out of here. Mm-hmm. But he still had to do it by going in between Sayako's legs, and she's a little mad about it.
She let him do it, though.
Yeah, but then she gets to hit him with this right here, the 100,000 ton to the 10th power hammer of her own.
How much is that? Do I have to math this?
I don't want to math this.
Okay, fine. I won't.
Don't make me math.
All right, fine. I'm just trying to be efficient for our incredibly efficient podcast, Josh.
Well, I get that, but I'm trying to spare us both from the terror of math.
I understand. Thank you.
And so Ryo goes and apologizes to Masumi like, hey, sorry about all your art that got shot the hell up.
And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of sad about it, but you know what's more important than just pieces of art that are just going to sit in this room? Life. Which, every time I say that, it's because I had to caption an episode of Ridiculousness for MTV once, and Rob Dyrdek, he always starts like every single one of his conversations like, hey guys, look, and then he goes into some really stupid thing that has nothing to do with the
clip.
With the clips that are about to come up. So one of the episodes that I worked on, he starts it up with, hey guys, look, life. And I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean, Rob Dyrdek? What does that mean?
That's so vague. What are we talking about? I just want to see a guy get hit in the nuts. What's going on here?
I cannot stand ridiculousness. In any case, that's basically what this has boiled down to for this lady. She has decided life and the lives of people around her are more important than the art in this room, even if they were some nice memories of her husband.
Yeah.
So now she has decided, I'm gonna go life.
And the butler's like, oh, thank God, she's starting over. And she's doing the whole nine. She's got a new outfit. She's got a new haircut.
She got a nice haircut. Oh, she's got some nice short hair now. Oh, it's kind of cute.
Like, it reminds me of the first time you got your hair cut real short and colored. Uh-huh. I sent a picture to my sister, and my sister immediately texted me back, oh my God, are you guys okay? That's like breakup hair. Like, that's such a drastic change.
Well, clearly we're still here. So.
Yeah, clearly we're still here. But it's just like you're entering a new chapter in life, so the hair's got to match that.
Yes.
And then not only that, she's got to take a flight.
She's at the airport, she's packed her bags, and we see...
The first thing we see at the airport
is a plane, okay? And you're like, alright, is it Sunrise Air? Well, not this one specifically. On the tail wing, we see a big old M&M's logo. Just big old M&M's plane is...
Mars Candy has an M&M's plane.
Has there ever been an M&M's plane?
I would bet money there is. I'm almost positive.
Well, I see a bunch of airplane toys, but I don't know.
Forget it. Okay, never mind. It's not worth it.
Not worth it.
Point being, it's there. It's in the episode.
Anyway, so I don't even think this is an well, okay, it's an advertisement in the show, but I don't think it's an advertisement in their world. I think M&M's has a plane. Like, has a plane that is their airline, and it's not that it has been skinned with an advertisement on it. Like, I'm pretty sure Pokemon has had planes, you know?
Yeah.
But they were for, like, Japan Airlines or something like that, JAL. But I legitimately think that M&M's is like, well, now we're starting our own airlines, and we serve M&M's as our in-flight snack.
And so it's like, yeah, why do you need to, like, this isn't even subliminal advertising like we had to deal with last week.
It slowly, like, rolls into frame.
Like, you can't miss it. But no, she is leaving on Sunrise Air, and for the first time, I think this whole season, we hear it announced over the airport loudspeaker.
Right, and they say it both in Japanese and in English because you would do that at a Japanese airport.
At an international airport.
Right, and you hear a lady saying, ladies and gentlemen,
Sunrise Air Flight 831 to Paris is now taking, like that's the flight.
This lady actually says Sunrise Airlines or whatever.
And so they're all saying their goodbyes there at the airport, and Masumi's telling them, yeah, I decided, you know what, there's a lot of art there in the house, and I'm not going to be there, so I'm turning the house into a museum. Butler's going to be the curator. It's all going to be good.
Okay, great. Bye.
Bye. And that's it. Yeah. And the thing about it is, it ends on a still shot as Get Wild is starting to play, as we are very accustomed to here in the show. But Masumi seemed to be self-aware that this is the end of the episode, because she, like, posed.
Does this adorable little spin around and she's smiling.
And this little kick, and that's where the pose is. That's where the still shot is for the end of the episode. Like, you knew. Like, that's too self-aware.
Maybe.
But yeah, that's the end of the episode right there.
Yay!
So yeah, at least for the action portion of this episode, it's very iconic here in City Hunter that we got to see this, that it even got referenced in the live action. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it was also, there's a reference to it in the credits for Shinjuku Private Eyes where they go through certain key episodes showing action that Ryo's done.
Yes.
And that was one of the ones. You know, there's him shooting through his hand to save Calorie. There's episodes that we haven't gotten to yet that are real important. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to spoil those, but there's also this one too.
Yes.
So...
Well, there's Makimura's death.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, real important episodes in there. And yeah, this is one of them. So I would say I would recommend this episode.
The animation in this episode's real good too.
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. And it's like, this is a good cross-section of what City Hunter is, I think.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because it's fun.
There's not enough Umibozu, but you know, if you just needed a sampler, this is still pretty good.
If you would like to headcanon that Umibozu was contracted to install all of those traps in Masumi's bedroom, I can get behind that.
Sure.
And so next week's episode, we're going to see Ryo having a good time out on the town with a woman of the cloth.
Okay, so he found Jesus.
He found some kind of religion.
I mean, like, that was the problem this episode. Some other lady told him, you need Jesus, and then he deliberately went out and found a lady working towards being a religious person.
Nun. The word is nun, Caitlin.
I was trying to avoid using the word nun. I was, like, really deliberately aiming to find some other descriptive words.
Spoiler, Ryo will get none.
Yes, exactly. He gets a nun.
No, he won't get none. I'm using bad grammar.
He won't get none? Oh, this is awful.
This is why this is a City Hunter podcast and not a grammar podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
So please come back next time when we cover the 49th episode of the TV series, Sister in Doubt, Mokkori is her guide to love?
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 48th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna throw Josh's face into a plate of food.
I'll do that myself, thank you very much. I'm hungry.
Well, damn, all right.